for investors by investors. You're listening to the only show on the planet for real estate investors, wholesalers, rehabbers, landlords, private lenders, cash buyers, fix and flippers. This is Real Estate'preneurs.
Hey guys, welcome back. You're listening to the second part of last week's episode. Let's jump back in.
I actually went through this process with someone with us, and I'd like to hire on character.
Yeah.
I'd look, do you have the desire to learn and the aptitude to learn? And if you have that, then I'm going to hire you on your character. And actually, I was recently thinking about, and I had the conversation with her. I was like, Monday, I came in with the intentions of letting you go.
Wow, you told her that?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I started thinking about it. I was like, you fit within the company. I hired you because of your character and your ability to learn and desire to learn. None of that's changed. And I just finally realized I have you in the wrong role, right? And so she is now in a role that better suits where she needs to be and her skills and her abilities, and everything's fine, right? But really what would have happened is I would have let someone go based on the performance of being in the wrong role, as opposed to, but the character's strong, the loyalty strong, all that was perfect, right? That she fit the box of why I hire. I just didn't, it was on me to make sure that she was doing the right things.
Dave, I hope your listeners know how powerful what you just said was, because that shit is so powerful. Like, we have conversations with our team members. And first of all, if you're listening to this and you have a team, I hope you have some sort of accountability chart, which actually shows where your team belongs and what they're supposed to do. Because I have moved in the process of this up and down, hiring and firing thing. We've moved people all over the place. I've had people who have been in 5 different boxes in the last 5 years, and they're still with our team. Some people come, some people go. Some people go in one box, move to another box. Some people fire themselves because they say, hey, it's not working out. I want to go work somewhere else. Totally fine. Of all the people that we've ever had to fire, I can count on one hand how many have actually left on bad terms. They hardly ever leave on bad terms because we have an open, honest communication with them. And generally, by the time they actually leave, they're already mentally checked out. Like, okay, cool, I'm ready to go, because we have that conversation that Nate just said. This is why, this is what's not working. Maybe you prefer a different seat. Your core values fit, your cultural fit, we're in alignment, but this seat's not working out. When you have that conversation and it's honest and it's forthright, people, they agree generally. They're like, yeah, you're right. I'm not hitting my numbers. I'm not hitting my goals, and it's not making sense. It's not lining up. It's not my unique ability to do what you have me doing. Cool. Let's not do that anymore, right? If you're not good at it, then don't do it. We have that conversation all the time. So I think people miss that all the time. People pay people to do things they're not good at all the time. I did it for years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So with that, when you put them in the right place and they are happy, and one thing I used to do was I would wait. If I knew someone wasn't a fit, they weren't a cultural fit, they weren't a fit in general, I would wait and not have that conversation with them. Or I would take some candy ass way out of the conversation. And years ago, I started finally, one of my buddies was just like, be direct, man. Just sit them down. Hey, look, this isn't working out. Here's why. How we pivot from here determines how this conversation goes.
Yep.
Right. And so now I just tackle it head on. And every time I do now, it works. And another thing from that is the DM always says, if you're thinking it, so are they.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Me and Brian always talk about, if that team member's name keeps getting mentioned in the conversation, there's a good chance they're either getting promoted or fired.
Yeah.
If I'm talking about you, it's either good or bad. But I shouldn't be talking about you.
My wife always say that. She was like, same way, man. She goes, after a while, I'd start talking about someone. She's like, you going to let them go tomorrow? Or finally? She's like, because you won't stop talking about it. You're going to let them go? She's like, people you like, you never say a word about.
Yeah. And we don't understand as visionaries, that's weighing on us. You're going to bed every night thinking about how I'm paying this person and they're performing at 30% of where I think they should be. And you're thinking about all the other people that could be doing it better than them. Take action. Do it. What are you waiting for?
Exactly.
Boy, this didn't go in the direction you thought it was going, did it, Nate?
Who's getting the axe to? Oh, you can't talk about that on that show.
I'm all good over here. We are good. We got They're bringing more people on. But character fits, man. I think it all comes back to they fit. And you mentioned it a little bit, like that's part of our core values. If you don't hire on, you don't really identify, and those core values may change over time, right? And they may shift, but at the same time, like if they don't identify with those and they don't fit with you and they're not someone you want to have a conversation with, you gotta, it's just not going to work. It's only going to create tension. And as you mentioned, as the visionary, for me, I guess the unsaid thing is like I was bringing that shit home. And when I bring it home, it then causes tensions with the family and my wife, and she's got to hear it. She don't want to hear me complain.
Quit whining
about certain things. So
put away your purse, Sally.
My son the other day fell in a soccer game and he's kind of got up real slow and he's like, oh, it hurt. I was like, is it broken? And he was like, no. I go, then why'd you stop running? And I'm like,
so you got to talk to your team.
And why'd you get up so slow? I mean, I was kind of messing with them, but at the same time too, like when as entrepreneurs, you got to kind of tackle the same stuff. Just tackle it head on.
Can we talk a little bit about the mastermind thing? And I don't know that we bring that up enough on this particular show, but I mean, we're all connected through a mastermind. I want to explore that a little bit if it's cool with you, Mr. or Nate Doggy Dog.
Let's do it.
So what is this mastermind thing? I don't think we've talked about it at all on this show. We're all a member of a pretty high level mastermind. I mean, what does this do? Why do you have one? What does it mean? What is this mastermind?
That question was for me, I assume, right? We were talking to Nate.
Sure.
We're all in the same mastermind. Yeah. I mean, so the mastermind to me was life-changing. And, I've been in it now for 5 years. And, I was just telling Jonathan a little while ago, actually, that before I've always been a huge investor in self-development. Right. I've gone to everything. You name it. I've been to Tony Robbins events, Rich Dad events. Like before I invested in the mastermind that we're in, I've been to every $500 room that you can get into where it's like you're in the room with 300 people and, they give you a workbook and you do some BS exercises and you fill in the blanks for 2 days. And then they try to upsell you for $25,000 to buy a 3-ring binder. Right. And I've even bought a couple of those $25,000 3-ring binders, and I always learn something, right? So I don't knock that stuff too hard, because I always have some sort of takeaway from it, but it's always just a takeaway. It's not a long-term play. It's not a real deep investment in relationships. It's just knowledge. About 5-6 years ago, when I first came across Mark, I was in like a really, really bad place emotionally and with stress and with business. And I was running multiple businesses. I had a rehab business. I had a real estate sales business. I had rental properties. I was doing some general contracting work. I was literally doing anything, and none of it, I was doing some of it very well, but like I was just doing all of it. I was doing everything I could. And, I was like juggling or spinning 12 different plates at once. I had one assistant and I was just one of those guys that I just assumed that I could do everything myself. I never knew that, what it was like to hire people. I was, first of all, scared to death to hire people. No matter how much money I made, I never thought I could spend it on like salaries.
Joe, why is that? Like, why were you afraid? And the reason I'm asking this specifically is I'm going through this right now in this business where I sit is like, can I really get somebody to sit here instead of me? So why were you afraid to spend that money on those salaries or invest?
I don't know, because until somebody taught me that you're only risking 30 to 90 days salary instead of a whole year, I think everyone that I talk to assumes that you need to have that whole year's salary sitting in an account somewhere waiting to pay somebody. So, the way I talk about it now is if you do it right. To backtrack a second, Darren Hardy wrote in the Entrepreneur's Roller Coaster that a bad hire, and this actually might have been one of the things that sparked me because I read this book beforehand, a bad hire will cost you 2 years' salary. Right? A bad employee will cost you 2 years' salary. So I guess I just assumed that in order to hire a $50,000, $60,000 a year person, I needed to have $100,000 saved up, right? Which is completely false, right? Because once you learn to do it the right way, you set the proper expectations. It should cost you 1 or 2 months' salary tops to decide if that person is a great fit. And by the way, with an executive assistant, that person should be doubling their income within 60 days, with what they take off of your plate and the multiplication of your time and what you're going to go out and create because they're doing all the things that you're probably doing for $15, $20 an hour work that you shouldn't be doing. Right. And that's a whole different conversation. But, at that time I was just terrified to hire people. I didn't know how. I'd never done it before. And so I just had her and I was running all these businesses. So I got into the mastermind and from a phone call, actually off of social media, And I hit up Mark and had a conversation with him. And, he said, the event's in Columbus in a couple of weeks, send me $5,000. And I was like, holy shit. I got on the phone. I mean, we had such a cool conversation. I was like, yeah, I'm in. And I hung up the phone and I was like, dude, how am I sending this dude $5,000? Like, that's a ton of money. And by the way, I should backtrack. Like, I was making good money at this time, but I never had money. Like, I was that dude. I was that entrepreneur who, like, I think that year I probably made $300,000-$400,000, but like never had it. Like, it came in and went right back out, came in, went right back out. Like, and I also had no financial wherewithal between my business and my personal life, right? I had every excuse in the world why I shouldn't separate them. My personal account would pay my business expenses. And then when my mortgage was due, I'd move the money back in, pay my mortgage. Like, I was a freaking mess, right? And I was super, super stressed out. Never saw my kids, never saw my wife, never hung out with my family, just worked 100 hours a week and slept 4 hours a night. And I was in the worst shape of my life, never worked out. And I was just burnt out. Like I was telling Jonathan earlier that I probably wouldn't be alive right now. I think I would have stroked out by now if I kept on that pace. Like, I just knew I was going to have some sort of breakdown, burnout, heart attack, something along the lines. And I went to my first event and I got into that room and I was like, dude, I've never been in a room like this in my life. There was 15 real A players who were real business owners. Some of these guys had major, major businesses. Some of the guys that were in real estate were doing major deals. And some of them are just like, I couldn't imagine how like mellow they were. I'll give you guys an example. Mark Scouron was in the room with me. And this dude comes strolling in. He's like, yeah, I'm doing like 10 wholesale deals a month and I live in my condo. I'm like, dude, what else do you do? Like, you got to be doing 50 other things, right? And he's like, no, man, that's what I do. I drink my juice in the morning and, I'm banging out wholesale deals. And I'm like, what else? I'm like, and like, I just started talking to the guy. And I'm like, this is unbelievable. Like, life can't be this even, because I'm chaos. I was like a meteor at that time. Like, everything was just on fire. And so, within a couple of months, I'd made a lot of plays and I decided I wanted to shut down the retail sales business. And instead of shut it down, Mark and I had decided, you know what, if you're going to throw it away anyway, why not? Your assistant is licensed. What's the harm in giving her the business, stepping away from that business and going and doing rehab full time? And I said, all right, well, what's the big deal? I'll offer her a little piece of commission. She can keep her current salary, see what happens. I gave her all my clients. I completely walked away from it. I told every one of my clients, Heather's the one that can handle all your business. She's going to take care of you. She's going to be everything. I literally stopped taking all the calls. I stopped prospecting. I stopped doing everything. I went and did rehab full time. And within 12 months of that time, when we look back on it, I had almost done triple the rehabs that I did the year before. Heather did more sales than the two of us did together the year before. And that's when it just clicked. I was like, wow, when I let go of the vine, when I give that responsibility to somebody else, they can do it as well as I can. In fact, better. She kicked ass. Like, she closed more stuff than I did. And then we just started hiring more people, put 2 or 3 more people in the first year, probably hired 10 people the second year, 10 or 15 third year. And we grew. We just expanded from that point. We did a lot more rehabs. She did a lot more retail. At some point we added wholesale, and it's all history from there. We learned the power of people leverage, and then we started to expand upon that and really started to invest in good players to add to the team.
And all that took was one social media post.
And it was probably a couple dozen social media posts. I didn't know Mark that long before I got into the mastermind. And, when I hit him up, that's the power of content, by the way, which is why I find it so impactful that we put out content.
I had a similar experience when I just went to the first DM event where I was like going there and I was miserable and I needed a change. And everybody I talked to was like, dude, you're doing too much. Mm-hmm. I'm like, what? I'm not doing anything. I hardly work. No, dude, you're doing too much. And I'm like, you know what? I'm doing too much. And, it's so hard, right? Where else in the world are you going to find that unless you put yourself in a position, put yourself in the right place? Because there's nobody in your regular life that's going to tell you you're doing too much. They're going to be like, you're not doing enough. You're not, like a guy like you running 9 companies and the 15-minute meetings. They're like, that's not enough. You got to do more. That's what the world wants you to believe. But to get in the room with the right people that give you some clarity and have already been down that path, it's priceless. Although we've all paid a price for it, haven't we?
So what you're saying is recommendations by Nate Kennedy should always be listened to?
You know what? To be honest, that's how powerful your recommendation was, because I didn't know Mark. I didn't know him at all. And I got on the phone with him and I said, if Nate vouches for this guy, he's a friend of ours, right? This guy's a friend of ours. And I was like, yeah, okay, I got to get 30 grand together. Hang on a second. And I'm in.
Yeah, it's super impactful, man. I mean, and the thing is, like, I mean, some of my best friends at this point are from all over the country. Like, I mean, it's hard to find the people like of this caliber in your backyard. That's what I found is the biggest change. I'm on the phone constantly with people who are nowhere near me. And you're getting not only accountability, you're getting pushed constantly. And the advice is like not the typical advice that you would get from your buddy that you grew up with. You know, it's not to say they're not on that level. They're just not on that frequency. That mindset is not at the same place.
They're not equipped. They haven't done the work. They haven't gotten in the right place. They haven't pushed themselves. So you have your own mastermind. You also have your own show. What are you up to? It's Legacy Wealth, right? What are you up to out there? What are you doing? How are you improving lives? How are you creating your legacy?
Yeah, so the Legacy Blueprint podcast is what it's called, and it's very similar. It's very similar to what you guys have going on. It's not real estate based. We used to have a real estate based podcast, but I wanted to kind of expand it because I've been starting to have really, really good conversations with other, primarily business owners. They're not all business owners, but primarily higher level achievers who have been there, done that, and really learning how they're impacting society and they're giving back and how they're starting to live and leave their legacies. So just having really, really good conversations about those type of things and you know, what drives them and then how they're creating, you know, their routines, their schedules, they're pushing the 5 F's. I call it the faith, family, fitness, friends, and finances, right? So, you know, how they're creating all that and still being able to give back with their content and drive their legacy.
Legacy Blueprint. That's it. So anywhere you find podcast, Legacy Blueprint. What else, Nate? We're coming up on the tail end of this.
Man, and and so those people you're working with, obviously being in the Legacy Blueprint for business owners, right? Not just real estate owners, right on. Then you have your own mastermind too?
Yeah, and the mastermind group is all business owners as well. We got a bunch of different industries there. Not all real estate guys. There's all different industries that are tied into that. What's up, Quinn? You want to say hi? So yeah, and you know, again, it's we're more focused on the balance of life and business and family and finances and how that all kind of jives together. So, you know, whereas it used to be a lot of real estate focused, you know, and now it's more how we can create harmony with all of it. So it's been awesome. We just got done an event last week and we had 8 big players in there from all over the country and getting ready already set up for the end of September. So last week of September, we're going to do another event in Haddonfield right outside of Philadelphia. And so it's just exciting. It's really, really good stuff.
Yeah, it's full circle, man. So 5-6 years ago, you go to an event, completely changes the trajectory of your business. And here you are now able to give back all those things you've learned and create your own environment from all your experiences and help other business owners. So that's part of the definition of legacy, right?
I love it.
Awesome, man. Well, where can people learn more about you if they want to get some more information? Hook up with Joe.
They can just go to our website, joeevangelisti.com. I'm sure you guys will post it in the show notes because my name's fun to spell. It's super simple. They could also search me out on Facebook. I'm there posting a lot of content.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So that is another episode of Real EstatePreneurs in the Can. We'll be back in your earbuds next time. Thanks, Joe.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
This is thepodcastfactory.com.